Hi, I'm Jerry Kung. I worked as a quant at Goldman Sachs for 4 years after completing a PhD in operations research at MIT. Operations research is a discipline that leverages data analytics and mathematical optimization to make better decisions, and I've spent more than a decade of my life applying these principles and techniques in my studies and in my work. It's through this lens that I approach and tackle problems. After gathering the requisite data and crunching the numbers, my husband and I found that Millburn's settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing, which was negotiated and authorized without prior public comment, includes zoning changes that could lead to an increase in the number of households in our town by up to 70%. This will have disastrous implications for our schools, traffic, and infrastructure. We recognize that providing opportunities for the construction of affordable housing is a constitutional obligation mandated by the state of New Jersey. However, these opportunities need to be created responsibly and be consistent with the character of our town. Rampant, irresponsible development, done by the dictates of developers, is a disservice, not only for existing residents, but also potential future neighbors and friends who would live in these affordable units. The current settlement agreement was poorly negotiated and subjects Millburn to an unmet need satisfaction percentage that is vastly higher than in neighboring towns and peers across the state. To make matters even worse, the existing agreement includes several ultra-high density zones that will only serve to incentivize overdevelopment. We certainly must work to lower the overall number of potential housing units that could be created. However, this is a process that will take time and will require a change of leadership in the Township Committee. In the interim, a critical first step is to redistribute the densities across the overlay zones to ensure that no neighborhood is disproportionately impacted. The existing agreement will have outsized impacts on South Mountain, Wyoming, and Glenwood. These charming single-family neighborhoods are right next to overlay zones that allow for up to 40, 25, and 18 units per acre, respectively. It does not have to be this way. Court precedent has established that the affordable housing obligation is not site-specific, and is instead town-wide. That is, from the court's perspective, one affordable unit off of Millburn Avenue is the same as one affordable unit on Canoe Brook. With this in mind, we crafted a proposal that equalizes densities to 15 units per acre in all overlay zones, except for OR1, which would be set to 20 units per acre. OR1 is the zone across from the Short Hills Mall where the Hilton is. This proposal would satisfy slightly more of our state-mandated constitutional obligation than the existing agreement, while significantly mitigating the impacts on existing residents. Additionally, if we wanted to do away with the ill-conceived DPW housing project, we could increase density to 16 units per acre for all overlay zones, with the exception of OR1, which would be zoned for 25 units per acre. At the July 19th Township Committee meeting, we presented both proposals at least 3 times. Even in the face of massive resident turnout and public outcry, Maggie Miggins, Richard Wasserman, and Sanjeev Vinayak summarily ignored our input. They did not provide any justification for voting to ram through several ordinances implementing the ultra-high density overlay zones, even when faced with a more equitable solution that is a realistic, valid alternative. All we are trying to do is to be a part of the solution, yet they continue to treat residents of our town with disdain. If this same Gang of 3 is so concerned about being in default of our existing settlement agreement, it should be pointed out that as it stands, we will be violating the agreement because the ordinance implementing the Canoe Brook overlay zone has twice failed to be introduced due to Maggie Miggins' recusal resulting from a conflict of interest. If indeed the Gang of 3 is so terrified of the courts taking over our zoning, which by the way would only happen after a long protracted trial, then perhaps they should start thinking about how to amend the settlement agreement to one that will be accepted by the remaining Township Committee members. I raised this exact point to them last Tuesday. Again, they refused to respond or even acknowledge my comments. This is just a quick recap of the current state of the settlement agreement. For a more detailed analysis, as well as a backup of the data sources and calculations, please visit oyenandfrank.com.